lot of the other technologies are good. They complement what Metrical is offering, but we're uniquely positioned in this real-time decision-making moment. Okay, real quick, just kind of ecosystem slide, because people often ask, well, where do you fit? I've already spent big on Shopify and Magento, and I've got my CRM systems, and I've bought everything, Barry. What do I need Metrical? Metrical fits in right as envisioned here, very close to the shopper, whether it's on a laptop or a mobile device. And you'll see that it's one of peaceful coexistence. So we add value to every investment you've made thus far. There's no forklift upgrade. There's no swap it out. It's really let Metrical just add in and work on those conversion opportunities. Since our inception, we've modeled now close to 300 billion data points, which are all coming out of clickstream data of people traversing sites. So we've built some very robust models that can map quite nicely to your shoppers in your industry, with your products and so forth, to really come out of the gates very powerfully. Okay, how does it work real quickly? That'll be the last technical slide, I promise. Simply, we're really good at observing traffic patterns. In fact, one of the first things we do when we load up is just kind of go into listen-only mode for a week or two and just look at the traffic and begin to build the model up and understand what your shopper profile looks like. Then we apply our proprietary technology to it to really compare then that behavior with what our models would suggest, so we can then predict in real time the likelihood, based on scoring of 60 plus signals simultaneously, that that shopper is about to abandon. And then we kick into our magical moment. But the point is, once we detect that potential abandonment in real time, we can then engage them with a unique type of content, maybe a chat, maybe a CSR and so forth. And I'll show what that looks like. But very simply, that's the Metrical process. It's easy as 1, 2, 3. It actually does install that easily. Okay, let's look at it from the what does Metrical look like when it's running on a site. Here, you'll see that across this range of interaction models or modalities, if you will, we were able to offer things like unique messaging. On the left side, a lot of that content comes from your creative department, and Metrical works, and Robert's team works alongside you to figure out, okay, which message, what content goes to which a person at what point in the campaign, and get very targeted with it. For those that want to get a little more interactive with your operation, in the middle there, we have relationships with some large mobility providers, where if the shopper opts in, shares their cell phone, we can send additional very highly qualified information through an SMS message, a branded SMS message to them. And then ultimately, if they want to hit the call me button, and say they're on a high-end jewelry site, and they're looking at buying some very nice diamond watch, and they really want to talk to someone before they pull the trigger, we can broker the shopping experience to a live customer service rep. And indeed, on the far right side is an example of a video linkage which Metrical can facilitate, so that your shopper can ask all the questions about the diamonds and feel good about their purchase and continue along to buy. So that's all creative fun that we enter into when we lock in with a client to figure out what's going to make your campaign really pop and get the conversion rates. Okay. All right, let's you've seen a little bit about Metrical, you've seen where it fits in the ecosystem, you get a sense of how it works. How do I make money with this? Well, let's look at a case study here. This is live data, or real data, based on a 7-day capture for a tier 1 US-based online retailer. And you'll see a little later in the demo that Robert will take us through, there's a lot of granularity and precision Metrical can offer you to zero in on a challenge area, maybe where you're receiving the most amount of leakage or abandonment. In this case, we're going to look at carts in the $25 to $49 range. And in this particular customer's case, about 3 million visitors came through at that time and met those requirements. So right away, we're going to invoke our A/B testing, which is deep in Metrical's DNA from the very beginning. We're always doing A/B testing to understand what works better, what do we need to emphasize or de-emphasize. So we're going to split these 3 million visitors into approximately half, and we're going to let the gray people without Metrical along the bottom be the status quo people that just, same old, and then on the top half, the 1.5 million visitors, we're going to give them the full treatment, the full benefit of Metrical. So here we find about 14.8% created a cart in that price range. Okay, cool. Now we're going to apply the metrical artificial intelligence to it, and we're going to see that the conversion rate's gone from 2.78% up to 3.3%. So about an 18.6% increase in conversion rate. That's very interesting. I, as a CFO, would like to know, what is that doing to my top line? And indeed, we've gone from $2.5 million to 2.9 for a net revenue top line gain of about 16%. Now, not everyone will get 16%. We've seen on average about a 9 to 11% top line revenue gain when the metrical system is deployed. So the evidence that helps build a slide like this reveals itself in a number of executive dashboards that we ship with the product, or Robert could build custom for your team, depending on what your KPIs are, how you want to focus on them, and really run the analytics side of the solution. So if it makes money for you, this is the great thing. Now, again, as I mentioned in my opening, all of you have spent probably pretty heavily on an e-commerce infrastructure. Perhaps you bought a commercial off-the-shelf package from Shopify, and indeed, Metrical's got some great press coming out early next week that we've embraced the Shopify platform significantly. We'll be in their app store. You could download a module and run and go immediately, and a lot of fun there. So stay tuned for some announcements in that area. But we work with all the major companies. We're just about done with a cartridge for the Salesforce Commerce Cloud as well. So if you have one of these technologies, no worries, Metrical can easily leverage and implement that. Okay, so I'll just kind of wrap up on JCPenney, who's one of our larger customers, has been with us from the beginning. And as they turn the corner on their business, kind of really leaning into the e-commerce technology significantly, we're in a great place. We're seeing some really fun results. So here I'll just share that the takeaway, JCPenney, we've run over 60 campaigns with them over the time. They've had conversion rate pops of 25% in a couple cases, but again, your average will come in around 10%. And to date then, we've shown them a 14% increase in overall conversion for those products and campaigns that they've allowed us to support. And that is generated on average a 9% increase in revenue. So that's a quick snapshot of who we are, what we do, and the results that we can deliver for you. And again, it leverages all the investments you've made thus far in technology, but it really takes that interaction to the next level to reduce abandonment. Yeah, please. Before we segue to Robert, I'll take a quick question if someone.
Any questions, anybody? Okay, well, let's keep going, and I will, we'll get to the questions at the end.
Yeah, thank you. Over to my colleague, Robert.
Sounds good. Thank you, Barry. Can you guys see my screen?
I can.
Excellent. All right. All right, so we'll go ahead and start off today. We'll take a quick look at some of these dashboards that come with Metrical out of the box. Then we'll go take a look at, Metrical out in the wild on one of our customer sites. And then finish up with a little bit of how, some of our reporting on how we measure that success. All right, so that said, this is a basic safety funnel looking at abandonment, showing us how many add to carts are happening, how many of those are making it to checkout, of those, how many are purchasing. Then we see where that abandonment is happening along the way. In addition, we've got a bunch of filters you can play with, some top line stats, cart abandonment, average cart size, purchases per day. Some other things for your marketing managers that might be useful, some orders per day, again, a whole slew of different filters to play with, cart abandonment trends over time. But some of the more interesting stuff here is stuff like our cart size by buyer activity. So this is going to be useful for us for identifying, who should we be running Metrical campaigns to target. So let's make this data a little more useful, a little more granular. So as we can see here, in this $20 up to really $80 range is where we're seeing the most abandonment happen based off of how, the value of the carts of people abandoning. So this list lets us know that when we're thinking of different types of campaigns we want to run, we really want to make sure that we're targeting carts and value between $20 and $80 to be able to capture most of that abandonment. Now, in a similar vein, we have the category abandonment. So this is looking at all, top line categories, men's, women's, and showing us where that abandonment is happening. So, for this client, gift sets is a real big one where they're seeing a whole lot of abandonment happening. And just like before, this is really useful for us for identifying, who should we be targeting with different types of campaigns. And that way we also know to do very specific content towards them based off of the different items that they might have in their cart. So then we can even drill that down a little bit further into item abandonment. And so that's going to look at individual items. So you can see here, for example, cucumber mint lip balm has a really high abandonment rate of 91%. This just lets us know that, maybe we need to be looking for different reasons for that. Could be a pricing issue, maybe a product information issue. So you can have targeted engagements that alleviate both of those pain points. Or in addition to that, Metrical also offers kind of an out-of-the-box one-click survey. So you can actually have those on individual product pages to capture feedback to find out why are people abandoning certain items more often than not. So that's a quick look at those dashboards. Now let's go see Metrical out on a customer site. So this is Elegant Baby, one of our customers. They're a luxury brand that doesn't like to do any sort of discounting. So it really, makes sure that we're focusing our different efforts on conversion around, not discounting, but finding other ways to incentivize conversion. For this demo, I went ahead and put myself into demo mode. What that does is just kind of tricks our model into thinking I'm an abandoner because our system's not really meant to be gamed. So me just clicking around for 30 minutes would be a bad use of our time. So this will happen a little faster than normal, but let's go ahead and take a look. So let's go shop for some blankets. So right now what will be happening is Metrical's AI is going to be, tracking all of my different interactions and scoring those against our abandonment model to determine, if I am in fact an abandoner or not. And so once that model has been tripped, it's going to set off our targeted engagement engine to decide what's the best type of content to convert me in real time. And so here we come. There we go. So this is an engagement with Metrical. The look and feel of this is all completely customizable. This was designed by the customer to kind of match the feel of their site. Metrical also offers design services to make this, as seamless as a process for you as possible. So they're going to offer me a free gift box to convert, again, to not want to give away any sort of discounts. This is a good way to do that as well, becoming a discount brand. The actions that happen from this, again, completely customizable. The goal of this campaign is conversion. So what's going to happen is it's actually going to push me directly to checkout to get me to make that purchase. And as you can see in the background, gift box automatically applied to the cart, discount automatically applied. Again, we want this to be as frictionless as possible to get that conversion to happen. So now I'm actually going to do a little re-up of that real quick. So we'll go back to Elegant Baby, but let's go ahead and take a look at a gift set, because on that last one, as you recall, it offered me a gift box. But if I have a gift set, which has a gift box included, then that gift box is not a very good incentive for me. All right, so normally, again, Metrical is going to be tracking all my interactions, 60 plus different variables to decide, hey, this person's going to abandon. Let's provide them with some content. And for this one, it's going to be reminding me about free shipping. So this is actually a reminder campaign because Elegant Baby has free shipping already offered. So Metrical is actually really good at being a multiplier effect for your ongoing marketing efforts you already have. So, for example, on this one, they have free shipping. Metrical is just going to say, hey, don't forget this exists, because a lot of the time, your customers aren't aware of your different marketing efforts. So this is a great way just to be able to get that conversion using an incentive you actually already have available. All right, so let's go take a look at how we then judge success. As Barry was talking about earlier, we really look at everything in terms of our incremental impacts that we're going to have based off of how much better did Metrical perform than that control group, that group that we don't touch, that's just going through their everyday interactions on your site. And so what we do then is, kind of judge our performance against that to be able to see how much incremental revenue that we're able to generate for our clients. And so, this is one of our charts lets us see that by day, what that is as a percentage increase in revenue. You can look at purchase rate trends over time. You can see here the treatment group is always outperforming that control group, which is good news for our company. Down here, you can see that we break this out by campaigns. You can have as many campaigns running as you like, all things considered. And then within a campaign, you might have multiple offers, and you couldn't have those offers A/B testing against each other to see which one works better. And this is just going to give us a breakout of information and performance on all of this. So that is a quick look at Metrical performance and also how we judge performance. So I think now we can jump over to some Q&A if you all are interested.
Great. Okay, as soon as you take your presentation down, we'll be able to see everybody again. Awesome.
Gotcha.
So, so let me just kind of back up. How does one get started? Like if I'm interested, what happens?
Yeah, good question. We've have a patented kind of a pilot process for people who want to experiment with Metrical, and a lot of it starts with what platform you're using. So let's just pick on Shopify, just because it's pretty prominent. The actual install process takes about 10 minutes to put the Metrical system in play and start listening and learning transactions. It will typically run for 4 to 6 weeks before we get the results back on how we're doing on the campaigns. So it's a very light technical touch to get started. Doesn't need a big IT team or at anything. It's really just a quick snap it in and then run it for a period of time, judge the results. So lightweight pilot implementation.
So when you say judge the results, what kind of, what do you offer as the proof of concept?
Yeah. Robert, you want to take that?
Yeah, absolutely. So kind of what we were showing earlier on that incremental performance, what we're going to do at the end of a pilot is break down the overall performance of Metrical and really show you that, here was your site without us, here was your site with us, and then really show the difference in the performance and the conversion rate, and then also the AOV leading towards what is the actual incremental revenue that's generated, the money that you would not have had without Metrical. And usually what our goal is of those pilots is actually to generate enough of that revenue during our free pilot that you then can just pay for a yearly license with it.
Great. So Barry, when you started out, you used Shopify as an example, which is helpful because we have a question about Shopify that you integrate and what the costs are involved. Like, how does that work?
Okay, very good. For the pilot, we'd try to keep it to a nearly zero cost and zero risk to the people, to the merchant, right? Because we know that we can generate some pretty profound results in a short amount of time. So not a big cost to get on the pilot. After the pilot's done, if they like the results and they want to continue, we'd enter into a licensing arrangement for our software as a service, which would be geared to the size of your operation. So smaller companies would pay less, bigger companies pay more. Very traditional SaaS licensing model in that regard. The fun thing is that those costs are recouped extremely quickly. We're seeing ROIs in the 20 to 30x range, which means the system is paying for itself after the third or fourth month in operation.
And what kind of commitment does one have to make? Like I know sometimes when you're doing projects, like if we, hire a PR firm, you need to have a few months before you see it really work. Like how does it work with this kind of software?
Well, because our models are very robust and we're able to map into a retailer's environment quite quickly, we will be able to generate the results, as I mentioned, in about 4 to 6 weeks, depending on the complexity. So very soon you'll know the value add that Metrical is providing to your operation. Typically at that point, people say, okay, I want to roll this into production. I want to massively deploy it across my site. And that's when we enter into an arrangement. For a term, probably a 12-month term on a license arrangement is quite typical. There are significant discounts, however, if people wanted to make a 2 or 3 year commitment to Metrical. But after the pilot is done in the first month or two, the results are evident. And if we want to continue, we just easily segue into a licensing discussion.
Terrific. Okay, so does anyone have questions?
Can I ask a question?
Yeah, please.
So I'm a pretty small brand. We're just in like the beginning stages of our company. Do you have a cap on how many website visits you need to have for this to work effectively?
That's a wonderful question because the models thrive on volume, of course, because it gets more precision. So I would say rule of thumb, and happy to talk to you offline and figure it out. But rule of thumb, I'd say about 100 carts a day would be a volume metric that will let you take full advantage of the system. Less than that, we just don't get enough historical to build the models up to give you the results you're looking for. And we want it to be a compelling financial impact. So about 100 a day would be the thought there.
Okay, great. And then the other question I have is, you mentioned chat and a few other like APIs you probably need to have on your website. Do you deploy those, or are those things that are already established and you leverage those tools?
Yeah, Robert, you want to take that?
Yeah, absolutely. So we'll just leverage usually what you already have. I mean, we have different partners that we work with that we would suggest that we already know that, hey, this is out of the box going to work for you. But we ourselves don't support any actual of the chat features or anything, because most clients already have those on their own.
Thank you.
Great questions.
Hey, Robert, you had mentioned towards the end of your presentation about running simultaneous campaigns at the same time. How many can you run, and what's an ideal mix?
Gotcha. Yeah, it's a good question. So campaign lines, you can really run as many as you want as long as they're not conflicting with each other in terms of who they're targeting. So, looking back at that earlier dashboards where you're identifying those different troublesome segments, it might be one where you have a campaign that runs specifically for, I think it was gift sets. You might have a campaign that runs specifically for that, while you have another one that runs specifically for just overall abandoners, or in another one that's doing something else. Just whatever your different marketing objectives are, you can run a different campaign for. Really, your only limiting factor is going to be your overall amount of traffic, because you have to be able to get enough data in to show that, hey, this statistically was a good campaign or a bad campaign. And if you don't have enough traffic and you're splitting it up into too many groups, then it can take a really long time to get really good results.
Great. Okay, any other questions? All right. I have recorded most of this session. Gentlemen, I forgot to hit record, so we missed your bios. So when we send the recap out, we're going to put that into the, we'll put that in the recap. So you have the contact information for everyone. We'll send the recording out. And, if you have any other questions, we'll put you right in touch with Robert and Barry so you can get that information right away. So, okay, so if you came on late too, tune in to Instagram Live at noon. We have a session with Jay Lacani and Heather Hubbard talking about the state of trade shows. And then at 2 o'clock, we have Jessica Richards with the top items you should have in your assortment for spring 2022. Awesome. It's an awesome presentation. And then we're running our India Textile Fair. I put my email into the chat. If you need it, let us know and we'll get you signed up for any of those events. So thank you both very much. I think Lena and I need to talk about how we can use this for the Accessories Council.
All right. All right. Thank you very much, Karen and Lena, for the opportunity. Appreciate it.
Nice.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We appreciate it. All right. Take care. Thank you.
Yep.
Bye, everybody.